Okay, everybody, I am really, really excited about this training right here, how to craft the perfect offering. And the reason that I created this training is because I see a lot of teachers and studios get stuck around this. And I really felt like there needed to be a training on this without a doubt. So let me speak that the goal of this is to get you the perfect offering that will make your clients simply say, shut up and take my money. Now, this is definitely one of my favorites, and it might sound ridiculous, but when you craft the right offering, people will literally tell you to stop talking and take their money. I've seen it time and time and time again. And think about this, like you've probably experienced this too, where you see people literally waiting in line, camping out overnight to get the new iPhone. Maybe it's that cool Kickstarter campaign that gets funded for hundreds of thousands, if not millions of dollars, and the product doesn't even exist yet. And, there's people beating each other over the head to get the best deals on Black Friday. There is so much going on in this picture. I like the guy in the kind of upper the right-hand corner who realizes that he's either being filmed or taken a picture of, and he's just pausing to reflect and smile. Then you've got looks like the redheaded employee that's trying to break up the fight. You've got the woman underneath her who's just so sad because she doesn't have what appears to be a TV in hand. And then there's a lot going on. I don't know. It's kind of a funny one for me. So the reality is when the perfect offering is made, people buy. It is as simple as that. It really is. When the perfect offering is made, people buy. So when you do this, it's so beautiful because it doesn't require manipulation. There's no Jedi mind tricks. There's no hard selling. And nobody wants that. Nobody wants to come off salesy. We really want to just make it the obvious choice is for them to purchase from you. And we'll talk about that a little bit later on. So, but the key is to give people what they actually want. And that is the key there, what they actually want. Often I find that most teachers and studios don't know what it is that their students actually want. They haven't sat down to actually think about that. And that's one of the reasons that I've had you go through the Perfect Client Questionnaire and Deep Dive. Because you are there to determine, excuse me, what do your customers actually want? What are their daily frustrations? And at the end of the day, what do they want more than anything else? So I'm about to tell you what that is. And I don't care what your niche is, what the product is, or what your market you're in, because all of them are only buying one thing. I'm going to say that once again. No matter what they are buying, they are only buying one thing. And again, in a few minutes, I'm going to tell you what that one thing is. So before I get there, I have one thing to address. And I'm making one big assumption that is underlying everything that we will talk about in this training. And that is that your offering is great, that your teaching is great, that what you offer your clients is great. That's not what this program is about, is to help you become a good teacher. That is assumed right now. And that what you're offering is great. Now, we're going to craft that offering to make it even better, but I'm assuming that you're a good teacher. And I'm going to be assuming as we move forward that, again, you're providing value to your customers, that your students like you and like what you offer. Whether or not you have been effective at getting your students to buy, that is completely different. Completely different. The challenge isn't that what you offer as a teacher isn't great. So if you haven't been effective at selling your services or products, it's just that your customers don't seem to get it. You know, have you ever felt that way, that whenever your offer is presented to the right audience, you know, you really get the time to present that to the right audience, to the right person, and you have the time to explain what you're doing. Your students are like, oh, well, this is perfect. This is amazing. This is exactly what I want. So when you have the time to explain it, people get it. But more times than not, they don't. That is the unique challenge that I want to solve for you in this training. That is why our goal, by the time you have finished these 3 trainings, I've broken down the Crafting the Perfect Offering in 3 parts. And you'll hear me, I probably should have referenced this in the beginning. You'll hear me, you know, referencing offer, offering, products, services. They're all the same thing. They're all the same thing. So by the time you're finished with these 3 trainings on Crafting the Perfect Offering, that you'll know the exact positioning and word for word messaging you need to craft a perfect offer that gets you more clients. That is our goal. So all this begs the question, obviously, what is a perfect offer? Now, the perfect offer defined is the right product. Actually, let me say, these are the 5 things that we will want to align with to create a perfect offering first. You know, the problem is that most people focus most of their time on the product or service and little on the marketing. We all know this. I mean, how many teachers, and I, you know, me, myself included in the beginning, commit so much time to learning about yoga, learning the different modalities, learning the different healing practices, getting into the asanas, getting into the pranayama, getting into the right meditation. But we never learn marketing. So we never really reach our target audience. So let's break this down. Oftentimes you'll see an offering that is extremely valuable, but you know, you'll see a competitor selling their offering at a much higher rate simply because they have even better marketing. So the quality doesn't always translate into sales. The same with price. It isn't as big a factor as you might think it is. Then you hear people saying, if you can just reach your perfect audience, then you're golden. Well, targeting is important. And one of the reasons why we went through the Perfect Client Questionnaire. But the most important component of all these 5 is the right messaging. When you have the right message, everything gets a lot easier. So again, the perfect offer defined as the right product at the right price, presented to the right person with the right messaging at the exact right moment. And you're going to get this. I promise you, you're going to get this. So I have 3 big questions that every business needs to answer. And I'm going to start with question number 2. Again, every business must answer that question, this question, if they are going to be successful. What can you say in as few words as possible that will make your prospects say, please take my money now? And you think that's funny? They will say it. I've had many, many teachers say, I'm ready. Let's do it. Please take my money. What can you say in as few words as possible that will make your prospects say, please take my money? Now we're going to go through, I want you to write that down because we're going to answer that question as we continue to go on. Now, so part 1. This is what this training is all about. This part 1 is the 30-second sales pitch that almost always works. You know, I want to give you a 30-second message that you can deliver in a literal elevator wherever you're at, whether it's on stage or in a video, on your website, or even giving your employees to deliver. It really doesn't matter the medium. Could be an email, could be social media. It could be an ad, but I want you to have this message that forms the basis of your offering. Now, before I get to that, though, the one thing everyone is always buying. I want to talk about that. I promised this earlier, that one big thing that everyone is buying, always buying. Transformation. I don't care if you're buying a number 2 pencil or a yellow submarine. People are buying transformation. What will I get out of buying this? What experience, what transformational experiences will I get out of buying this? I mean that. People need to literally, they need to feel it, they need to see it. And this is what they're buying, is transformation. So here's what I mean. Let's look at on the left, the before state, and pretend that on the right, this is your customer before they have discovered you or your offering. Let's focus again on the left, the before state. This person could be discontent, they're stressed, they're angry, they're lost, they're hurting, they're suffering, whatever it is, etc. So for this person to make a purchase, there must be some kind of condition that they're in that is less than ideal. So that's where your target market, your perfect client is. They are in a before state that is less than ideal. So your client will want to move to this after state to the right where their world has improved. Now, I will submit to you that business is actually really, really simple. Whether you're selling a product or a service, whether it's B2B, that means business to business, B2C, business to customer, online, offline, low dollar, high ticket, it doesn't matter. What you're really doing is shifting your customers from this before state on the left to this after state. That's what you are doing, and that is what they are buying. That's what I mean by transformation. No matter what they are buying, they are simply buying transformation. And the cool thing is, a great message simply articulates the shift, aka transformation, from the before state to the after state. That's why I was saying, what can you say in as few words as possible that will make your prospect say, please take my money? Well, that's simply coming up with a great message that articulates the shift from the before state to the after state. So that's what we're really doing when we're doing marketing. So here's your first assignment in this training. Let me go back. Action step. Describe your prospective client's before state, and then your prospect's ideal after state. Now, I want you to pause the training, get out your perfect client questionnaire to help you with this. It is nearly impossible to effectively showcase your product or service without doing this. So go ahead and pause the training and describe your prospective client's before state and your prospect's ideal after state. So when you come back, after pausing the training, we're going to look at some examples. And these are companies that are doing this right. Now, the first example, I know the image isn't that great, but it was from 1984. So there wasn't a lot of resolution back in 1984. But for the first example I'm going to give you is a company that got this concept of transformation early on in its infancy. This screenshot is of the commercial that aired only once during the Super Bowl. It was directed by Ridley Scott. Ridley Scott directed the commercial. it's depicting this universe where, sameness has run amok. It's this big brother atmosphere. Everybody looks the same, dresses the same haircut. And then towards the end of the commercial, you have this hero that emerges. She clearly looks different. She has a different outfit, has a different attitude. She runs into this room, spins around, and throws this big hammer at Big Brother on the screen. And after it breaks the screen, it says, on January 24th, Apple Computer will introduce Macintosh. And you'll see why 1984 won't be like 1984. It was an amazing, fascinating, truly beautiful ad. But if you notice one thing, the commercial actually never showed a computer. They mentioned the word computer, but they never actually showed one. They weren't listing the features or the benefits. What they were actually selling was transformation. They were telling people who felt like a cog in a machine that you can be unique, that you can be an individual, that you don't have to go along with the tribe. Apple has always sold transformation. If you look at the iPod, you can see one of the original ads. It's fun, it's funky. Look at the earpiece, it's white. At that time, the only things out there were black earpieces. So Apple comes along and showed you how you could be different. It's simply a celebration of the individual. Again, it's about transformation. So let's take a step back. What if you don't have the budget of Apple, which no one in this program does, I don't believe, or have Ridley Scott directing your videos? Let's look at some smaller companies and how they're utilizing transformation. But I think this concept, how Apple has grown their business, it's all based on transformation. What will the consumer get out of it and how to convey that? So let's first look at plastic. They're a personal payment solution that is basically, if you've ever been frustrated that you wanted to pay for something with a debit or credit card and they only accepted checks, that's where plastic comes in. So if you look at the imagery here, and let me just say that none of these companies, like I'm going to show you, are getting it perfect. And that's, important for a couple different reasons. You don't have to get it perfect either. So, but let's look at the imaging here. Like the woman is showing how happy she is in her ideal after state. Plastic is a solution to never having to write a check again. And now this woman is kicking back, never having to worry about writing a check again. So this is what we're talking about in terms of, showing them the transformation. Now, let's look at this. Here's another example. Brand yourself. Look great when employers, clients, and even dates Google you. So the implied state is how frustrating it can be to have people Google you and have no control over what they see. So now you can look great no matter who Googles you. And you have that mentioned in the ad in writing, and now you have this image of this attractive guy on the right who's confident. He's not worried about when somebody Googles him. He feels very confident because he knows that if you search for him online, you will find nothing but good things. So here's another example, true conversion. It's easy to double your sales when you know exactly what your customers want. So the implied before state is when you don't know what your customers want. And the messaging and the imagery show the after state of what you'll look like when you do know what they want. This is actually a really, really good one. And I'm kind of sad because it's not possible for me to actually show the full encompass of this ad, because if you go to their website, the 1-800-GOT-JUNK, you'll actually see that there's a few different scenes that happen right here. There's like basically a video where it says goodbye junk, hello relief. But when you look at the actual commercial, you'll see people that are talking, they're like discussing like, oh, my junk, blah, blah, blah. And then now it gets hauled away and they're happy. They're like, oh, I feel so clear. Like, oh my God, I'm so glad that's gone. The funny thing is, through the whole, video, you never actually see the junk being removed. It's all about people shifting from the before state to the after state. I want to pause on this because, like, a lot of us in the yoga community feel like we have to have all these pictures of yoga poses and we have to get really in depth. Like, so many of us think that we have to kind of convey our product or service based upon what we've seen from other yoga studios and other yoga teachers. Probably 95% of yoga teachers and yoga studios aren't properly marketing. They're just doing what they've seen from everybody, and that's why everybody looks the same. You have to really focus on showing that before state and the conversion to the after state. So now what I want to give you is the actual formula for a 30-second sales pitch. The formula for crafting your own messaging. So let's begin with their before state. Okay. And this is like you and your actual, either speaking to a client, like on your website, whatever medium. So it starts with, how. So I would say that I'll go back to kind of my niche when I was, being a private yoga teacher, was working with people with anxiety, stress, and depression. And so for my example, I would say, how frustrating it is when you can't seem to relax, when you can't let go, when you can't relax and just be yourself around other people. And then now you must empathize. Oh, I got it. Empathize. There we go. I get that in philanthropist. It's my kryptonite. So when you empathize with the person, it's like, I've been there. And you're going to say that. I've been there. We hear you. We found the same to be true, because you want to connect with them. It's like, hey, you know what? I've been there too. And people just want to be heard. So it's like, hey, we've been there. I hear you. Then moving on, and that's why I created blank, your product or your service. And then you're going to imply ownership. Once you have it, when you've completed it as a client, as a member, once you call us, and then you're going to talk about the after state. You will be completely, you will be able to let go. You'll be able to feel like you can be yourself around other people. You'll finally be able to relax. So again, it's talking about the emotion that they have, the problems that they have because of what? How frustrating it is when you can't seem to relax. I've been there. And that's why I created this private one-on-one program for those with anxiety, stress, and depression. Once you've completed this program, you'll finally be able to relax around other people, to be able to let go, to feel free. Just to feel free. So this is just an example to give you. So the perfect message checklist, let's kind of go over this. Are you acknowledging where they are, their before state, using words that they understand? Are you speaking to where they want to go? Their after state, using words and ideally visuals. Are you empathizing and showing them you're a worthy guide? And that's when you say, hey, I've been there, I hear you, blah, blah. And then the last one, are you not asking for too much too soon? And we're going to talk about this last question in part 2 of this training. But that is that's a big one. Are you not asking for too much too soon. And to give you an example of that is, let's say you're a yoga teacher who only emails your list twice a year. And you've got a retreat coming up. And you're like, hey, and keep in mind, they probably haven't heard from you for 6 to 8 months probably. Hey, I'm doing this international retreat. It's going to be amazing. You should definitely go. Check out their webpage here, blah, 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 blah. The dates are this and this. It's this much money. The early bird special is here. Let me know if you have any questions. Okay. Well, first off, they haven't heard from you in a while. And maybe they've been going to your class, but probably a lot of them haven't been going to your class. Most people on your email list have maybe encountered you once or twice, and they're not coming on a regular basis. So it's almost like you're asking for marriage on the first date. You're like, hey, we barely know each other, but you should definitely go with me on a yoga retreat for 7 days because it's going to be amazing. Check out their website. And by the way, we're going in this date, and it's only $3,000. It's asking for too much too soon. So timing is obviously everything. And I'm going to give you a little bit of preview right now. And most of you know this almost intuitively, that if you deliver your message too soon, it doesn't matter what the messaging actually is. So let me define the perfect offer. It is the right product at the right price, presented to the right person with the right messaging at the exact right moment. And you're going to get this. We're going to talk about this in part 2. These 3 points to making sure you're presenting your messaging at the right moment. You're going to get this, I promise you. We're going to do this step by step. That's why I'm breaking down this training into three parts. So very much looking forward to continuing this, and I'll see you on the next training.